Hello friends, my name is Taylor Cezanne and welcome to your introduction to Earth Embodiment. Hello and welcome. I'm so excited to be sharing this information with you all today. Going to allow you to connect deeper with your womb, allow you to support your body on really a holistic from a holistic perspective, as well as learn exactly what your body needs during each phase of our cycle, during each season. To start off, a little introduction of me. So I'm Taylor Cezanne. I'm a fertility specialist, a childbirth educator, and birth doula. I just love everything associated with the womb, feminine, motherhood. All of that rebirth energy is my thing. So today, connecting you with your womb, connecting you with your earth embodiment. This is something that I hold near and dear to my heart as one of the core truths of my life and my experience thus far, and that is that we are the embodiment of these earth energies, especially as women. That's not to say men or any other genders can't tap into this womb. It's very much an energetic space as well as a physical space. But when we have the womb as in a physical sense, it allows us to drop even deeper into these seasonal archetypes, and we move through them within one lunar cycle, allowing us really a full perspective, not just one, very linear male perspective, but really a feminine, flowy, learning to surrender and take in all of these different perspectives. Another caveat is really with when we're learning these inner seasons, it goes in accordance with the phases of the cycle that we're in. So many of you, and for the longest time, we've all been taught that the first day of our bleed is the first day of our cycle. And I'm here to tell you that that's not exactly true. Menstruation is the end. It's the culmination of everything that happened in that cycle before that, every phase before our inner winter, which is our bleeding time. The true first day of our cycle is when we stop bleeding. That is the fresh new start, that inner spring energy, the follicular phase. And this is the true day one of our cycle, the true reset, the restarting rebirth. So just something to keep in mind as you begin charting your cycle. And that is something you would have to do before really tapping into this. Start charting your cycle, whether it's just in a journal, on an app, just making note of how you're feeling on different days throughout the cycle. Not just how you're feeling, but any symptoms you may be having, acne, bloating, maybe you're really tired or really energetic, just making note of anything at all that you're experiencing. And once we know that, we're able to better identify the different phases of the cycle. So after we're done bleeding, that day one of our cycle, inner spring, the follicular phase, this is very much about the energetics of rebirth, of kind of making those to-do lists, planning out what you want the rest of your cycle to look like. What goals do you have? What tasks need to be completed in this cycle? Just start kind of making a to-do list. Also allowing yourself to enjoy this peak of energy. We start to notice our motivation rise. We notice our sex energy start to rise. So allow yourself to kind of tap into this. As far as hormones are concerned, all hormone levels are relatively low at the start of this phase because we're just coming out of menstruation, but they're slowly rising. In particular, the follicular stimulating hormone. This one helps eggs to mature properly within the ovaries so we can have ovulation. And the effect the follicular stimulating hormone has on our brain is really it opens us up to feel comfortable and confident, to try new things, be creative, new beginnings. And this is also a great time to focus your exercise, your movement during this phase, during this season, to be really focused on something new, something dynamic, something that really gets you moving, and something that's fun. Food-wise, you're going to want to choose anything fresh and vibrant. Think of spring. All of the greens are coming back into season. Pressed salads are also really great, so things like kimchi, sauerkraut. I love to have kombuchas during this time, but also loading up on veggies, sprouted grains, and buckwheat. Buckwheat is like the star of inner spring. It has all of the nutrients we need to really support the development of the ovaries with the follicular stimulating hormone. And it also has a lot of protein and carb balance, which is just really great for the body to maintain blood sugar levels, which is a whole nother hormone group that really does impact these inner seasons, and it helps you stay full, satiated longer. Now for the kind of to hop back to the energetics and mental focus of this time, you're going to want to plant the seeds for your creative ventures, any like tasks or big projects plans you have for the coming season. We can do this really by maybe having just writing out, I like to call them like brain dumps, just really writing down everything that's on your mind, everything that you think of, that's those kind of constant circulating thoughts. Just write it down, brain dump, and then go back over it. What things can you take action on? What things do you think you can accomplish this cycle, or what needs to be accomplished this cycle? Take those bigger tasks and you can always break them down into smaller tasks throughout the coming weeks. It makes it really easy to stay on top of your goals, achieve your goals, and is a complete life changer for any of my business women. This has been the key in my success with my business, is really matching my business with my cycle. And I would love to share more about that. If that's something you find yourself in, send me a message and we can chat. Another thing to think about is really the pleasure, the sex energy that's involved in inner spring. Put your attention to the arousal phase during this season, trying to really heighten your mental desire and your physical urge for sex. So add in lots of touching, massage, a lot of non-penetrating foreplay, while also kind of maybe allowing, because we have the follicular stimulating hormone kind of working in our brain, allowing us to be more open to new experiences, trying something new in the bedroom or by yourself. And this is, I have a whole course, kind of mini course, that talks you through each season, how to connect with the pleasure of this through specific practices that are going to connect you. Inner Spring's focus is on intimacy, so how you can create more intimacy within yourself, but also within your relationships. And that's when everything gets really juicy and feels good. And so of course, after inner spring, we have inner summer. This is the ovulation phase. Our energy, hormones, everything is at its highest. We are still experiencing that rise in the follicular stimulating hormone, and now we have the addition of luteinizing hormone. This one really helps the follicle that's been growing and developing release the egg. Estrogen is also increasing, allowing the uterine lining to thicken, either, of course, which would be shed during menstruation, or to support pregnancy. So this inner summer is when to be conscious, intentional about conception. Whether you're trying to conceive or to avoid conception, this is the season that is most likely to happen. And once you learn and tap into your body, learn your key signs for ovulation, you're able to conceive or avoid pregnancy with greater ease. But with this rise of estrogen, and we also have testosterone kind of beginning to surge, which really drives up our desire. That sex energy, as I mentioned, is really at its peak during this phase. So you may desire more connection, more pleasure during this season. And it's also a time energetically of extroversion, of celebration. So make plans with friends. Allow yourself to get out there, maybe go on a date, make plans. I'm an extreme introvert. This is the time I make plans to see all my friends, make all of those dates, to do things, collaborations. This is your perfect time to schedule those sorts of things. As our hemispheres are communicating to each other more frequently during this phase, our communication is clearer. So Collaborations are great if you need to ask for like a raise or something. That's also a really good time to do this. Now is the time to really pitch those new ideas, launch your program, really start to sell yourself if that's something that you need to do. Plan it around your inner summer. So that's very much the energy, is just like celebration, extroversion. It's actually studied in for quite some time. The increase of inner summer is also so that ovulation, there's been studies done on sex workers, on strippers in particular, who they would watch their cycle and watch their tips. All the women were experiencing and getting more tips during their inner summer. We're physically more attractive to the opposite sex. We also have more pheromones going on, but we also feel better about ourselves and our body. And this is something I think is so beneficial about Earth Embodiment, is it allows you to know your body is one, it allows you to know how to support your body so you feel your best mentally, physically, emotionally. But it also allows you to remember that everything is changing constantly. Our only constant state is change as women. Day to day, our hormones, everything is in a fluctuation. Our weight in our body and the way we view our body is no different. So you may be feeling like $1,000,000 in this inner summer, a couple weeks feeling not so great about yourself. Be mindful, or come back to the womb, back to the body. It's just your mind, just the hormones that are at play, kind of clouding your judgment in a sense. Exercise for inner summer. So we have that peak energy, anything like high intensity training, soul cycle, maybe like hot yoga, anything that's really going to get your heart rate up and get you moving is the perfect exercise during inner summer to get rid of some of that extra energy that you may have. And lastly, food. So food in inner summer, think of the season, all of the raw vegetables that are in season in inner summer. So really loading up on those. They have great fiber. Fruits for high levels of glutathione. This is actually found in particularly high levels within apples. So eating apples during your inner summer phase, really to make sure your body is able to metabolize and process this extra estrogen that's coming in the body. Our environment is loaded with excess estrogen in our water, our food products, beauty products, you name it. Everything in just the general environmental pollution is really impacting our systems. And not just women, but men alike are seeing higher levels of estrogen. These things cause things like intense cramping, hormonal acne, PCOS, infertility, endometriosis. The list really goes on. And we can really begin to heal and bring balance to that hormone system in this phase by begin supporting our cycle, begin supporting our bodies for menstruation. So focusing on light grains like quinoa and corn. Quinoa is really great to, one, it just supports overall ovary health with its minerals and nutrients that it has present. But it also allows us to really kind of acts like a sponge and sweeps the excess estrogen out of our digestive system. Another great thing to pair with this, especially pair it with inner fall, is brassicas. So things like collards, kale, broccoli, cauliflower, kind of that whole family of vegetables. These vegetables have the properties that allow our bodies to more efficiently break down excess estrogen so it can be removed from the body with greater ease, helping us kind of keep more of that hormone balance in stasis, kind of that homeostasis. Pleasure in inner summer is the peak. Again, you can find the link for my pleasure practices. Each one is going to be specific to the season, exactly what you need to know to connect with the pleasure of this season. So with your hormones surging, anything is game during inner summer. Really make time for pleasure, as your desire, your sex energy is going to be at its peak. And sex energy is life energy. Allow yourself to play with it a little bit. So think like really hot and steamy. Anything that you desire, try to fulfill that, either if it's with yourself or with a partner. And don't forget to check out the course to learn exactly what you need to really connect with the pleasure and energy, sex energy of inner summer. Moving into inner fall. Inner fall is our luteal phase. So this is post-ovulation, and really post-ovulation is when we want to start preparing our body for menstruation. So if you have really intense PMS symptoms, bloating, cramping, tender breasts, any of those, starting after ovulation, you want to start taking extra good care of yourself. Increasing magnesium supplements is a great thing to do, making sure you're on point with your nutrition. Adding excess healthy fats is really going to help during this phase. This is when we have most of our cravings for like sugar and ice cream. Sugar and ice cream, those two in particular, are going to give you more cramps, going to make your skin break out. So if those are PMS symptoms you're experiencing, check your diet and see if there's maybe shifts you could make. Also, ice cream is it's cold on the body, so it causes more intense cramping. What's going on a hormonal level? Our estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone are reaching their peak shortly after ovulation, and then they begin falling. Estrogen continues within the system for a little bit longer, really allowing that uterine lining to thicken in anticipation of a fertilized embryo. During this phase, our brain is really optimized for like the detailed work, kind of the nitty-gritty, digging into results, figures, numbers, and it can almost feel like a step back as far as like progress, but really that step back allows you to see with more clarity what shifts need to happen so you can move forward with greater ease and more in alignment. The energetic focus of this phase, much like summer, what are we doing? Much like autumn, we're really kind of harvesting and kind of hunkering down for inner winter. And we can kind of break it up into two parts. So early inner fall, you may be feeling really motivated. Kind of a caveat that you may be feeling overwhelmed, like you had too much you put on your to-do list for this cycle and now you're not going to finish it. Get into those nitty-gritty details, kind of reevaluate what can you do, what needs to wait till next cycle, anything. There's no time limit for anything in our life, so allow yourself some grace and flow with the feminine through it. Also, allow yourself to carve out large chunks of time if you're able to work on finishing these tasks. You are worthy of taking the time for yourself. I'm speaking to myself as I say this, to finish your tasks and the desires, projects, things that fill you up. This is a time to really hunker down, to check all of those things off the list. And again, towards the later inner fall, organizing, kind of like that nesting energy that pregnant women experience, really just very much about kind of finishing those tasks. So inner winter, during your bleed, you can rest and just be at ease. Exercise, again, we're going to split it up. So that first inner fall phase, you're likely to have a lot of energy to burn. Strength training is going to be really good, allow you to kind of burn through some of that testosterone that's still in your system and get rid of any frustration or anger, frustration you may be feeling. During that second half, use more yoga, walking, Pilates, whatever feels good to your body. But as we shift into menstruation, we're going to be more tired. Our bodies are going to feel like they just want to move a little more slowly. And that is no mistake. That's by design, allowing us to rest during menstruation, our inner winter, which is a pretty taxing event on the body. Foods to focus on for inner fall. We want to focus on B vitamins. These, they will like completely shift your mood, but they're also going to help you with sugar cravings. Also focusing on a lot of dark leafy greens, kind of help building up those energy stores for menstruation. But leafy greens also have a lot of calcium and magnesium, which are going to help reduce fluid retention. So if you're someone who experiences a lot of bloating through kind of your PMS time of the cycle, focus on some leafy greens. And if you're not a fan, toss them in your smoothie. I promise you won't even taste them. Last kind of food that we want to focus on for inner fall is roasted vegetables and root vegetables in particular. So like the potatoes, beets, carrots, turnips, anything root vegetable that you can bake. Potatoes are great as well. They really help your liver and large intestine flush out estrogen, again continuing the brassicas and quinoa, as they also support really breaking down that estrogen and sweeping it from the system. When we shift into pleasure for inner fall, again, it's a split. So really, that first half of this season, you're going to be feeling hot and ready. Your sex energy is still going to be high, and you may need more stimulation to climax. So it may take you longer to fully reach orgasm. Think of this as like the romance phase of the cycle. So candles, really sensual, kind of really dropping in to the mindset of pleasure and sex before actually initiating, allowing yourself that time to fully turn yourself on. Second half of this season, you may not feel interested in sex at all, and that's okay. Really just listen to your body. As we shift more into menstruation, this is going to be a dry time, where there's not going to be a lot of lubrication. So use a sort of lubricant or take things slowly. Just kind of a caveat to lubrication overall is I highly encourage you, and this is in my pleasure kind of feminine, the frequency of the feminine video that you can check out as well on here. But this is the key practice in really allowing yourself to connect with your pleasure and allowing your body to turn on. It takes women on average of like 20 minutes to fully become aroused for intercourse. Allowing yourself that time, your pussy, your vagina will get wet on its own, and that is when we should be having sex, is when we're at that point. Not that that's the only time, but to really connect with our sex energy, that is the key time to do so. And lastly, we move into menstruation. So this is our inner winter phase, your bleeding phase. Hormones are at their lowest. Kind of after menstruation starts, everything really just drops down, sinking to your kind of baseline level. We're better able to synthesize and kind of put together how we're feeling about situations and to determine the best action to take. So inner winter, allow yourself to rest, but also that energetic focus is kind of in reevaluating, kind of looking back over things, scheduling time to look at your results, analyze data, crunch the numbers, just kind of like very like introspective, where summer is very extroverted, winter is very introspective. So looking inward, what worked well for you this cycle, what did not, how can you make the shift or serve yourself better in the coming month? And what, maybe you didn't finish all your tasks. Keep that in mind. Allow yourself a little more flexibility and grace when planning out this coming cycle, and kind of scale back if you need to. Or what can you do to stay on track? Or is there something you need to take out of your life, scrolling on social media, watching Netflix, that you can remove to allow yourself to reach your goals? Exercise and all of the energy of this phase is on rest, hibernation, introversion, winter. Just like get really cozy and comfy. Allow yourself to cuddle up. I would highly recommend wearing like the thick, fluffy, warm socks you have during your bleeding phase, especially during the first few days, when bleeding is typically more intense for most women. Allowing your body to stay warm enough allows for easier menstruation. It's actually an ancient Chinese practice with postpartum women, but also I think it applies to menstruation, is really keeping the body warm for proper menstruation. If you're someone who experiences really intense period cramps, something natural you can try to kind of curb that is ginger tea. I will usually just kind of chop up some ginger root and some ginger root powder in some hot water, and it really completely erases any sort of cramping that I may be having. Another thing about cramping, allow your body to sit with it for a moment. I'm not saying like to make yourself uncomfortable, but I think overall a lot of us use kind of this, oh, it's my period, to disconnect, when really our bodies are calling and craving us to connect, to support. So we can do this by, just had a total brain fart. By checking in with our womb, kind of dropping in for a second, feeling the cramping, and maybe just asking yourself with your hand over your womb space, how can I serve you? What do you need from me today? Everything aside, what is one thing I could do for you, to support you, to feel good? And then just allow yourself a little bit of time, silence, just kind of breathing, and see what comes up. The womb is eager and willing to speak with us, to really connect with us and bring us in on how to support her. We just need to learn how to really decode and understand her language. This is something that I share in my Womb Wisdom program. It's a totally online, self-paced program. Allows you to fully understand and connect with the language of the womb, to support not only your inner seasons, but also the other hormone bodies that are at play within the feminine body. And last thing is pleasure in inner winter. So if you're not into sex on your period, don't do it. If you're into it, get it on. It's also a dry week, so use lubricant if that is calling to you. Again, the energy is really on inward focus, so you may be feeling called to spend more time with yourself. And maybe plan a day apart from your partner, or taking some time for you to do something by yourself, to take a class, get a massage, go to the spa, anything to kind of fill up that introverted cup that's really at the forefront of inner winter. And again, you can find all of this pleasure practices specific to each one. I'm going to share exactly what you need to be doing to feel your best, to connect with the most pleasure through each season. And you can find that link below. I would love to hear if this resonated with you, if you see and feel the earth embodiment within yourself, if this is something you're already living through and really experiencing. Drop it in the comments. I would love to hear from you, and sending you all so much love.